Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is Vicki with Junction Knits, and for the month of March we're working on a drop stitch shawl. I have the written pattern is in my Facebook group. If you would like to get that, you're more than welcome to come on over. There's a chart available if you like to follow charts, and there's also written instructions if you like to follow written instructions. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is mark our loom. You can mark it however you like. I used 4 markers, one for the first and the last pegs, and then one to mark the purls. So these 4 pegs are going to be your edge stitches. We're going to do a flat panel, so that's why I marked the first and last pegs, and then your purl edges. Okay, and you can start from either edge. It really doesn't matter which edge you start with. You can also do whichever kind of cast on that you like, but the cast on will show. So I like to do a chain cast on, and there are numerous ways to do a chain cast on, and one of them is just to do a slip knot. You go around your first peg, you hold on to your tail, and you pull that loop closed. Then you go around the next peg, pull the yarn through the peg, through the loop, sorry, and pull it closed. Around, through, and pull it closed. Around, through, and pull it closed. So I'll go ahead and finish doing my cast on, and I'll meet you up again at the beginning. Okay, so we have our cast on, and the first peg on each end is going to be a knit, and the next peg on each end is going to be a purl. We are going to slip the first peg of each round, which just means you don't knit it. So that means our first stitch of every round is going to be a purl. And to do a purl, you go down from the top, grab your yarn, pull up a new loop, pull off the old loop, put the new loop on, and tug. Okay? So down from the top, grab your yarn, pull up a new loop, take off the old loop, put the new loop on, and tug. Okay, so go ahead and do that all the way around to the end. Don't forget to do your knit stitch, and we're doing E-wrap. We're doing E-wrap for this. So go ahead and do an E-wrap on the last stitch, and I'll meet you up there. Okay, we're ready for round 2, and this is where we begin our drop stitch. And this I like to call part 1 of the drop stitch. We go ahead and we slip our first peg, which means we ignore that peg. Our next peg is a purl. And then what we do is we wrap the peg 3 times. And try to keep your loops in order. Don't try to get them crossed over each other. It's important to keep those loops in order. Now pull your bottom loop over your top. Okay, so you wrap 3 times, pull the bottom loop over the top, wrap 3 times, and pull the bottom loop over the top. Go ahead and do that until the end, and don't forget to purl and knit your last 2 stitches, and I'll meet you up then. Okay, we're ready for row 3, which is part 2 of the drop stitch, and this is where you create the actual drop stitch. So we skip our first peg. Our next peg is a purl for our edge stitches. And the way we create the drop stitch is you've got your 3 loops that you put on. You're going to take the first 2 and pull those off, and there is your drop stitch. Now what you're going to do is you're going to purl this stitch, this big loop here. You're going to purl it. So you pull your loop through just like you did before. You take the loop off, put your new loop on, and tug, and it's okay for that to be loose. Okay, this, your working yarn needs to be snug, but the rest of this is okay for it to be loose. Okay, so we go on to the next one, take the 2 loops off. Okay, bring up your working yarn through the loop, take it over, put the new loop on. Okay, take the top two loops off, bring the loop through, over, and on. Okay, I'll do a few more and then I'll show you what you can get. Now it probably doesn't look like much now, but once you get going, you can actually pull on your first row, and there is your drop stitch. Okay, so go ahead and finish that, and I'll meet you up at the end. Okay, hopefully you've reached the end of your drop stitch row. Now we're going to go back with a row of knit stitches. So we slip our first stitch, we purl our second stitch, and then all we have to do here is E-wrap this row. And you kind of want to watch because these loops are still kind of loose. And you don't want to lose one. So I push these down after I knit them just so they don't want to pop back up on me. And you just go around and you knit these stitches. I'll meet you back up at the other side. Okay, so you finished that round of knit stitches, and I actually like to wait until I do this round of knit stitches. That would be round 4, and to pull out my drop stitches. So then I just go around the loom and pull out my drop stitches. And there you have your drop stitches. Okay, and then that was a knit row. Your next row is going to be a purl row, and then another knit row, and then you start with your drop stitches again. And that is it for this drop stitch shawl. Here's the one that I made. And I think it came out really pretty. I think any yarn would work for this. You could use a thinner yarn if you wanted it really, really lacy and light. You could use a number 5 yarn if you wanted it to be a little bit more thicker for more cooler weather. This is a very versatile pattern. You can make it as long as you want if you want it to be able to wrap around you a couple times. If you have a longer or bigger loom and you want to make it wider, you could do that. This is a very easy pattern to adapt. There are no multiples. You can do odds or evens. It doesn't matter how you do this pattern. And that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments. I'll do my best to answer. Pop over to my Facebook group. If you have any questions or anything, please let me know. Thank you and have a great day. Happy looming.